It's hard to believe that it's been 2 years since the Switch came out. I mean, on one hand, it feels like the time has gone by so fast, but on the other, there have been so many great games that have released for the Switch that make the system an instant classic, all in the span of only 2 years. Given that I'm a big fan of Nintendo and of the Switch, I wanted to celebrate the Switch's birthday by talking about some of what, in my opinion, are the greatest must-have games for the console. Some of these games are better than others, but they're all worth taking a look at, in my opinion. Okay, so we're going to start with an obvious one. The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, released as a launch title for the Switch on March 3rd, 2017. I'm going to keep my intro short and sweet on this one. This game is a masterpiece. Now, it's not perfect, even though it did receive a lot of perfect 10 review scores when it first came out. There are definitely a few issues that I had with the game, and that's not just because I'm bad at it, which I definitely am. But there's just so much freedom in this game, and in multiple ways. Freedom to go where you want to go, freedom to do what you want to do, freedom to take your time, or freedom to rush right to the final boss, because yes, you can do that in this game. It's not hard to believe that this game was, for about a month, the reason to buy a Nintendo Switch. This game has a beautiful environment, visually appealing characters, engaging combat, and creative and innovative spins on the classic Zelda formula that make this game a must-have for not just any Switch owner, but for any Nintendo or video game fan. Now, moving on from the Switch's big single-player experience, we have a huge change of pace with an almost purely multiplayer experience in Splatoon 2, released on July 21st, 2017. If I had to choose one word to describe this game, it would be addicting. And then if I had to choose a second word, it would probably be something like fun or good, but enough about that. It's very easy to start playing Splatoon 2, hoping to only play maybe a match or two, and then end up losing track of time and playing it for hours and hours on end. It's just that engrossing. This game also has a lot of personality, and that can be seen in its characters, in its music, and even in its stages and weapons. That personality, for me, is probably the highlight of the game, and that's mainly because the personality goes down to the core of Splatoon's identity as a series. A game about squid kids sliding the ground and each other with ink, while 90s-esque rock music that's sung in a post-apocalyptic language plays in the background. Honestly, saying all of that out loud really makes me realize that all of it together sounds really weird, but somehow, it all works, and it works really well in Splatoon 2. Super Mario Odyssey, released on October 27th, 2017. In this game, Mario is back, and he's the best he's ever been. This game looks, sounds, and feels good. Nintendo had the right idea when they decided to go back to the Mario 64 formula for Odyssey. Mario moves exactly how you'd expect him to, and that makes controlling him and taking advantage of his full moveset smooth as butter. Honestly, if this game were just about controlling Mario in this engine, then that would be great in and of itself. But Mario is not alone in this adventure. He's got Cappy, who not only functions as a means to extend your jumps, but also as your means to capture and control the enemies you encounter on your journey. This mechanic opens up a whole new list of opportunities in terms of how you can interact with the world around you. And speaking of the world, remember how I said that Splatoon 2 has a lot of personality? Well, Super Mario Odyssey is what happens when you develop a game all around the concept of exploring its personality. Every single world you encounter feels fleshed out and lived in, and the variety of unique characters you can control in each world just makes this game an absolute blast to play. And I mean, it's Mario on the Switch. What else can I say? Now for our only third-party game on this list today, Octopath Traveler, developed by Square Enix and released on July 13th, 2018. This game surprised me. In spite of the simplicity of its 16-bit art style, this game has the graphical polish of a AAA title, and that polish extends to all aspects of this beautiful game. The focus of this game are its 8 main characters going on their individual journeys, hence the name Octopath Traveler. Each character has a unique personality and a unique objective that they're pursuing. In my opinion, I think some of these stories are a lot stronger than others, but when playing this game, I fell in love with all 8 characters equally. Aside from the characters of the game is of course the gameplay, which is simple enough to easily get into, yet complex enough to be engaging. Each enemy you face has certain physical and elemental weaknesses, and if you hit them with those weaknesses a certain number of times, they'll get hit with a break and won't be able to attack for the next 2 turns. The only problem with that is, you won't know what those weaknesses are right away. It requires some experimentation to uncover them. On top of this, there's also different abilities depending on the role of your character, as well as attacks specific for each job class in the game. If you had to ask my favorite part of this game though, it wouldn't be any of that stuff. It'd be the music. The music in this game is just breathtaking and fits the dynamics of its visual design perfectly. It's going to be really easy to sink a ton of hours into exploring everything that this game has to offer. And if you're anything like me, you're going to love every minute of it. This next game has not been kind to me. Super Mario Party, released on October 5th, 2018. This game goes back to a more traditional style of Mario Party, while still trying new things to keep the formula fresh, and those new things are actually really good. Each character has a standard 1 through 6 block, as well as character-specific dice blocks which all have different properties. This adds a layer of strategy to Mario Party that didn't exist in past games. Do you play it safe and use the standard block? Or do you risk using your character block in order to possibly roll higher than a 6? Stuff like this isn't that deep, but it is enough to help the game feel a little bit less like luck of the draw. If you're like me, the main reason why you play Mario Party is the minigames, and I'd argue that most, if not all of the minigames in Super Mario Party are pretty solid. There's a unique variety of 1v3s, 2v2s, and free-for-alls. There's also a Rhythm Heaven style minigame mode where you try to act in rhythm to music playing in the background, and even an online mode where you play a round of 5 minigames against other players and try to get the most points at the end. There's also a hefty single-player outing in this game, but to be honest, I've never even touched it. My only issue with Super Mario Party doesn't have anything to do with its design. I think this game is great and totally worth picking up if you're a fan of the series. My one issue with this game is that, for some reason, I just can't win. Every time I've played this game, I've always gotten either screwed over at the end or just left in the dust at the beginning. It's honestly kind of heartbreaking when it happens enough times, but it is the name of the game. Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee, released on November 16, 2018. At first, Pokemon Let's Go seems like one of those games that you buy only because it has that Pokemon name on it. At least, that's how it was for me. But after getting into these games, I found that it was actually a lot of fun to explore this fresh take on the series. Okay, first things first, this game is just adorable. The colors and lighting really help to make the Pokemon models shine out, especially your partner Pokemon, the titular Pikachu or Eevee respectively. The music in this game also really helps to develop a more cutesy atmosphere. This isn't the large-scale Pokemon adventure of previous games, or like the recently announced Pokemon Sword and Shield. This is a fun little journey with your Pokemon partner through the familiar Kanto region. Catching Pokemon really is the highlight in this game though. Instead of having random encounters, Pokemon will appear in the overworld, and if you run into them, you'll have a chance to catch them. Of course, the catching mechanics in this game are based on Pokemon Go, and that's fine. I mean, it works most of the time. I've had some issues with the motion controls, but I definitely prefer wild Pokemon battles. It's by no means bad though, and you'll find that it's pretty easy to get used to. My main issue with this game is that it's way too easy, and that ease made it really hard to stay invested sometimes. In most Pokemon games I've played, I did nothing but play the game until I beat it. In this game though, well, I did beat it, and I even completed the Pokédex, but I definitely took my time with it. Still, I think this game is quality. Maybe not worth $60, but definitely worth looking into, especially if you're either a fan of Pokemon or of Pokemon Go. Alright, before we talk about our last game for the day, here's a few honorable mentions of games that I also recommend. First, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. This is the ideal way to play Mario Kart. It is a must-have game for the Switch. The only reason that I didn't give it a full slot today is because it is a port from the Wii U. Next, Xenoblade Chronicles 2. This game is definitely a quality title, and I've enjoyed my time playing it, but I just don't think it's for me personally. If you're into JRPGs, you should definitely give this game a try. Celeste. Okay, so this game isn't exclusive to the Switch, but it is on there, and I'd argue that this game, as well as all indies really, are best played on the Switch. This game is a masterpiece in terms of gameplay, music, and story, and if you're a fan of indies, you'll definitely enjoy it. And last but not least, Tetris 99. Basically, it's Tetris, but Fortnite. Which sounds terrible, but it's really addicting. I can't stop playing it. This game is free, so if you have a Switch, there's no reason not to download it and give it a try. You all probably saw this last one coming. Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, released on December 7th, 2018. I'm gonna go ahead and let my bias show on this one. This is my favorite game on the Switch, maybe even my favorite game of all time. There's just so much content in this game and so much replay potential that once you start really getting into this game, it won't be long until you log about 100 or so hours into it. The characters in this game are all really top notch. Everyone truly is here, representing nearly every genre of gaming, as well as nearly every period of gaming history. Old characters like Pac-Man and Mr. Game & Watch that have been around since 1980 can duke it out against new characters like Inkoming and Incineroar that both made their debut not even 4 years ago at the time of Smash Ultimate's release. It's one of those weird things that you can't find anywhere else but in Smash. The gameplay in this game is so good. It's leaps and bounds better than the Wii U game or any past Smash game. Characters all move and feel like they should, and the new mechanics in this game, like parries and directional air dodges, really help to flesh out the gameplay and give it more of a competitive edge than past games have had. Ultimate's single-player content is also pretty solid. Maybe not mind-blowing, but it's all worth investing some time into. The story mode is pretty standard, but there are some cool references on the overworld map, and of course in its spirit battles. And while I won't spoil it, the final boss is definitely the highlight. I'd recommend playing through the story mode just to see it for yourself. The classic mode in this game is also really good, having a unique set of battles designed for each individual character. There's also a small variety of multi-man battles, which includes All-Star mode this time for some reason. Super Smash Bros. Ultimate is the hottest game on the Switch right now, and it's no surprise as to why. This game has really strong gameplay mechanics, popular characters spanning all of Super Smash Bros. History, and a hefty single-player campaign, along with a ton of collectibles and unlockables. If you have a Switch, buy this game. You won't regret it.